Hello and welcome to Game 5 of the Small Games Final. It's currently tied 2-2. Ngober won the first two and Cpsch2 won the second two. Normally I would say CP has momentum now, but they've taken a couple of days break between Game 4 and Game 5, so it's kind of like a new match. Basically, first to get to 2 wins. Since CP is first player here, I'll give them the slight edge with first player advantage, but as we've seen from the first 4 games, these players are well matched, and so it could definitely go either way. We've got a interesting kingdom here. Trashing with Count, Temple, Rats, somewhat, Governor very, very minimally, but sure. Alms is extra gains, like 5-2 here would be amazing. Obviously, you could open Count Blessed Village, maybe. Count, yeah, that seems reasonable. So you can do stuff with Alms. You can definitely do stuff with Borrow. How does Borrow work with Alms? Mostly okay, it works. So you could Borrow with the 4 to get to a count, and then Alms the next turn. The minus card's not gonna prevent you from hitting your 4 price point. So there's a strategy here where you get a count early and thin down. Governor can be a strong sort of single card combo. It draws, it gains gold, it remodels the golds of the province. But we see colonies here. Certainly with colonies, that governor stuff is not that strong. Top-level players will say that governor stuff is never particularly strong, but I've found at the small, even like medium games level, a governor stack can be an effective deck, and I'm sure these players have seen that archetype before. So they may be looking at something like that. I think Temple is also pretty decent here because of Alms. This hand you're sad to miss your price point, but you can just Temple trash 2 and then Alms for something. Silver or a village. The only reason I'm suggesting villages, you are going to probably want villages in this deck with embassies and counts and so on to play. So you can take those now and hopefully you high roll and get a nice boon like Earth's Gift. Swamp's Gift is nice this early. And even something like Wind's Gift to help you cycle early on will be nice. Forest Gift will be quite nice next turn. They can hit 5 without having to borrow. So Ngober's already got the governor, and I feel like that's a little early. You're helping yourself, but you're also helping your opponent quite a bit. CP here can trash an estate to get silver, say. There's also some strong consideration for wanting to get to a deck that can consistently Leprechaun. There are lots of actions you can wish for that you want: Governor, Embassy, Blessed Village, and Leprechaun will help you do that, and there's plenty of actions to get you up to 7 uniques, and again, the golds are okay for remodeling into something nice. Again, this is the nice thing about having Alms in this kingdom, is you can have a turn like this where you draw 2 coins and still gain a 4-cost action. I'm somewhat considering Rats. Probably not. The trashing's not quite strong enough to make that work. Sometimes if you have other trashing, you can do fun stuff with Rats, trash for benefit, but it doesn't seem like this kingdom is particularly useful on that. If you could somehow use Rats to get thin real fast, or you knew your opponent was, if your opponent's playing with governors, then your Rats can become governors, but that's assuming they're governor trashing often enough for that to work out, and probably that's not the case. But it'll take a while with Temple before these players get thin, so that's at least a little bit of a consideration that I have. They're both playing fairly similar decks so far. Governor's Temple for trashing the early village just to see the boo, and then you've got the village in deck for when you pick up an embassy. Alms for Peddler is probably fine. Plus buy is a little bit difficult in this kingdom. It's coming from pawn, basically. So you're probably going to try to draw with embassy, a little bit with governor, maybe. And then have pawn for, basically plus action, plus buy often. Depending on your terminal situation, it could be plus card buy or coin buy. Because of that, I probably want quite a few villages. You can get some pawns and then try to start hitting that peddler pile pretty hard. Swamp's Gift is a very nice gift. So they got Earth's Gift into Swamp's Gift, which ends up being quite a nice turn. They've got still coppers and stuff in the deck. And pawn, the Will-O-Wisp will hit the pawn. You're certainly going to want pawns in the deck for the plus buy. And, you know, it's another card you can get into play for when you do pick up Leprechaun. I don't know if these players are going to go for Leprechaun. You've got to have a good amount of deck control. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We'll see moving on. I think you can get to that amount of deck control. And neither of them seem to be going hard for the Governors, although, again, it's only turn 6. So Ngober trashes silver into Governor, and CP's like, I'm just going to take a platinum now, which is quite a nice use of Peddler. Obviously, Peddler's an action and a cantrip, and it gives you a coin, but platinum gives you 5. So that's a pretty nice exchange, I think. Certainly you want to have a couple of Peddlers in this deck anyways, with the plus buys and Leprechaun stuff if you're going for that. So CP can lead here on the Wisp, and then see where the turn goes from there. Most likely it's going to be Trash and Alms for a Blessed Village, or potentially for a pawn. I think you do want a pawn in this deck. It's hard at this state with Alms and with well, they've got the platinum now, but with Alms they're able to do quite a bit of, well, yeah, I'm trying to think of a deck that can Alms and buy stuff. So if you have a bunch of Peddlers in play, you can play 5 Peddlers, or 4 Peddlers, and then pawn for coin buy, and then buy a Governor and Alms for a village, something like that. Buy a Embassy, Alms for a Blessed Village. Hello, Malkbar. I'm interested in seeing where these decks are going. So Ngober, because they've got the pawns, able to get 2 Peddlers in a turn, which is quite nice. Yeah, if you're watching this on Wednesday night, the 24th, or Thursday, the 25th, at 7 p.m. Eastern, there's going to be a coaching session on Dominion Online and Discord voice chat. Something that's interesting with the Alms, and there's points in the temple pile, and you're not really going to waste $4 buy on the temple pile, but if somehow you have an extra buy, you don't get any treasures in play. This is more likely for Ngober than it is for CP, because they've got the platinum. You can use an Alms to get an extra temple along the way. Obviously, I'd rather have the platinum than the Peddler. That seems fine here. The thing I'm trying to work out is, yeah, it seems like they both can use Leprechauns in the deck. They also can both use Embassies in this deck. They still have some junk, and Embassy is a really good card for drawing and cycling. So you start with 5 cards in hand, you play the Embassy, you now have 4 cards, you go up to 9 cards and down to 6 cards. So it's kind of, at some point it's worse than a lab. However, it is cycling you, getting you through your deck, making sure you find those key cards, which are your Governors. And if you end up discarding, 3 coppers and you drew 3 Peddlers, then you can just play those Peddlers and you can use your Governor for whatever purposes. Yeah, and so I kind of spoke too early about the Governors. They really went hard on the Governors. CP, yeah, does really need a pawn there, so that was the right buy, I think. Both players now need Embassy and Governor Embassy and Leprechaun, I think, are really useful for both decks. The other nice thing about Embassy is it draws so much that you can get your Leprechaun into hand earlier in the turn and plan that out. Sometimes in bigger decks with a lot of actions and some treasures still, it's hard to get the Leprechaun to be the exact 7th card. But if you play like a Blessed Village and Embassy, you don't have to play a bunch of Peddlers first to find the Leprechaun and risk not seeing it in the first 7. Especially because Governor, you don't really want to waste Governor plays on gaining a gold and giving your opponent a silver. Leprechaun is a good way to gain golds that you can turn into a province or 2 or use to buy platinum. And for those watching this 2 weeks ago, we did a donate coaching session on a Thursday night. Donate is a card that a lot of people have banned. A lot of people love it. It's a really high skill card and a fun card to play with. But if you're worried that your opponent knows it better than you, it's reasonable to have it on your ban list. So I think yeah, CP's got the pawn out, they've got the embassy. They're gaining a lot of golds. I wonder if they're going for provinces now. I still think a leprechaun would be really good for this deck. Like on this turn, even if one of the governor, if they had a leprechaun, they could play it for a gold and a wish, and then draw back around to the wish and see. That seems like it would be a pretty good turn. Although spending their gains in governors is not terrible. So in terms of gains, governors can trash things, so we can start to think, how do the piles run? Is there a third pile that can run? Peddlers can run pretty quickly with plus Ys. I wouldn't be surprised to see those run out in a turn or two. And they trashed the platinum. I think I would have preferred to just draw on there. They've got a lot of good stuff in the discard pile, as well as an embassy and a village. There's a pretty good chance they can draw all those golds that they just played, plus the pawn for plus buy, and do more with this turn than a single colony. As CP here, I think you trash that temple into an embassy. I don't really see a reason not to do that. They draw twice with governors, hopefully find a blessed village and the embassy, and then they've got a good turn, or guaranteed sort of really good turn going on. Temple being the 4 cost here is something you're happy to trash at this stage of the game. You don't really want to spend gains. You don't really want to spend actions and time trashing when we're in the green phase. Hopefully you've trashed enough along the way that you can get there. But governor decks really do prefer a very, very thin deck, because if you're using governor to draw coppers, ideally you'd play 3 governors for golds, play a 4th governor to draw the 3 golds, play 3 governors to get 3 provinces. That's sort of the best case scenario. That takes 7 governors to get 3 provinces. And neither player, I think, has the 7 governors. They're split more evenly, but that's the kind of thing you can look out for. Yeah, if they turned that temple into an embassy, there's a decent chance they would have drawn it, but they unfortunately haven't found a village yet either, so it's a little bit of a awkward turn here. They're also setting up CP for a really good turn with all the governor draw, which is something else. If both people have 5 governors, you don't really need to use your governors for draw quite as much, because your opponent is helping you out. And the thinner you are, the better that'll be. The other thing we have to watch out for about governor is that when you play governor to draw, to get your golds or things to trash, your opponent can draw cards first to see more cards that they can trash. And in the best case, for example, they've got a temple in hand and they can trash it into a duchy or something to sneak out some VP at the end of the game. Colony, and yeah, the peddler is mostly free. There exists a possibility of a rat's pile out here, but I think now that they both have colonies, that's not going to happen. Where you gain rats, you governor remodel pawns into rats, and then pile out the rats, and buy 2 peddlers and the estate or something. But I think we're past the point where that's possible on this kingdom. As I said last turn, I'm pretty sure CP has a village down here. Probably they should play the peddler first. I don't really see much need to try to time the actions. The pawn really wants to be action by, yeah, but I think there's really no reason to play that now. If you're not using it for plus card, when we talk about information plays, anything that draws you card gives you more information about the state of your turn, the state of your deck, the order of your deck, and so on. That pawn play does nothing. So they might as well just save that and play it later, and maybe they need to discard it to embassy and then can draw it back up again, or maybe they decide they don't need to plus buy because they don't have any money because all their golds just got turned into provinces. They're going to do alms. I think that's going to be a minor thing. I think most likely 85% of scenarios of all possible deck orderings, all possible draws, they're going to end up using that pawn for plus action plus buy anyways, so it doesn't matter as much. They took a peddler there. Okay, I was confused. The other thing is if they're going to do these plays, it could be that they want to trash before doing all the drawing. Normally, I would say I want to draw so I know exactly what I want to trash. If there's a Blessed Village in these next 3 cards, then they can play the Blessed Village and then play the Embassy and trigger a shuffle. And now they've just added, I guess they've added 1 gold and 1 province to the shuffle. So it's not terrible, but sometimes you want to be careful with Governor not to gain a bunch of provinces and then trigger a shuffle with all those gained provinces on top of the deck. Okay. Yeah, so playing the pawn for action buy now doesn't seem to make any sense. I guess they can buy a peddler and alms for something. So that's not terrible, but it seems like they could have drawn on the governor and then hit the Blessed Village and then played Embassy and done a little bit more with the turn. As we see all the good stuff, they would have drawn the other pawn, the Wisp. They could have done lots of good stuff. As is, they can play all the treasures. And buy peddler something. Not quite sure what something is at this point. They have 2 embassies, so maybe another Blessed Village. Most likely, the boon is going to be reasonable. And if it's one of the weirder boons, the draw boons or something, they can take it next turn. I think you just take that next turn. If you take it now, all your governors miss this shuffle. Yeah. So now the governors are all out of the shuffle, although they do have an embassy down there, I believe. But I definitely would have said take that next turn, and then whatever, you're almost certainly going to draw at least one draw card and do stuff there. So, and Ngober also now starting with a bigger than normal hand due to the governor draw their opponent gave them. And that's the general kind of pattern with these governor games. I think we often tend to overvalue how the governors perform our own deck and neglect to realize how they help our opponent's deck. The other thing you notice, sometimes giving your opponent all those extra silvers is annoying. And Ngober doesn't really want to be drawing silvers. They want to be drawing golds and platinums and governors. If there are still governors in the kingdom, then they're feeling generally okay with remodeling the silvers into governors. But with no governors left and not a lot more 5s that they want, maybe they want 1 more embassy, but in general, they may just be playing these silvers as treasures here. For example, they can gain 2 provinces, a colony, 3 provinces in a colony if they want, or 2 provinces. Remodel platinum into colony, golds into 2 provinces, and then buy a platinum. And that gives them at least a platinum in the deck, either for the coins or for remodeling into a colony. As I mentioned, it's a lot harder to gain colonies with governors than it is to gain provinces. So I think a deck here that focused more on getting platinums and buying provinces could do well here. I question turn 11, and the province pile does feel threatened here. Certainly speaking, Ngober can gain 3 provinces this turn. If they draw in with the governor, I believe 4 is even a possibility. If they find a pawn, which I believe they should have down there at the bottom. So that would be remodel 2 golds into province, play pawn for, coin buy, and even if they have just 1 more copper down there, they can buy double province. I'm not actually suggesting they do that. That lowers the province pot too much and makes it much easier for CP to win. To win, they would just need 2 provinces in a colony, I think, which is not outside the realm of possibility. So this is where, it's been a somewhat long turn. They've been thinking about it. They have to remember what they've discarded. So they discarded 2 coppers in a colony. And they shuffled their deck. So down there in those bottom 4 cards are 2 coppers and a colony. So I think you can just play this peddler, do whatever it is you're going to do with the governors, and then play the pawn for card buy. And either you'll draw a copper or a province, which is fine. You've top decked one bad card, but not really the end of the world because your opponent is going to be playing governor, so you're going to start with a 6 or 7 or 8 card hand in many cases. And that gives you at least 2 extra coins, potentially 3. It looks like they're not going to be playing the peddler here. So they took the colony, which I think is right. They can lower the colony pile because, at best, either player can really only get 2 colonies in a turn. 3 maybe with best possible draws, and if they remodel a platinum, but I don't think either player has a platinum left. Now they've both trashed, so governor trashing the platinum feels worse. Part of that is it takes 2 2/3 golds to buy a province. It takes 2 1/5 platinums to buy a colony. So 2 platinums and a copper buys a colony, 2 golds and a copper does not buy a province. And the cost of platinum is not, it just costs so much to get. But certainly they're going to take double colony here. Okay. As I said, I don't think CP can get 3 colonies because they no longer have a platinum. So that certainly puts Ngober in a good position after that. Now that you have the 3 green cards in hand, you can happily discard those. There's going to be no issues with that. I think that play was a little early. I think I have to actually stop here and plan out my turn based on the deck state, which is a little bit tricky. If they're going to play any of these governors for draw, they're now triggering what is an atrocious shuffle. So they end up having played all the embassies too early. I think there's a way they could have played some governors to gain golds, then did a governor draw, then played the embassies, and ended up just getting a clean shuffle and discarding green cards. It's not clear to me that CP can actually play any of these governors now for draw without triggering just a really bad shuffle. Perhaps they have another peddler and a blessed village down there, so they do have some cantrips they can use to start cycling. Not really sure what the thought is there. I mean, I guess there are some good boons, like Wind's Gift or something can help cycle their deck. The one that draws you a card. I can just look these up, and you can actually go through the log and see which boons have been played. But Earth's Gift is gone. Field's Gift, some of these are gone, but yeah, River's Gift and Sea's Gift both, and potentially Wind's Gift. If any of those are alive, could help Ngober get a better turn next turn at the cost of a silver. The Blessed Village is pretty much a useless card in the deck at this point, though, unfortunately. So we see, while I was talking about that, CP has used now 2 governors to trash, and they're still not through the deck. So I think they wanted to try to shift the governor draw before the embassies. So if they needed to do gain and play with the governors, they could have done that. Now they're using the pawns as cantrips and not for the plus buy, which is a little bit sad. But I assume, well, it's not obvious to me what they're going to do. I think you can get 2 provinces safely. I'm not sure if you can get 3 provinces safely, and I don't think you can get a colony safely either, although Ngober had a very good turn last turn, and they added 3 green cards. So you might just gain a gold here, or they've got 4, 8. They've got enough, so they could gain a province, and then they've got enough to buy a colony. And I think as CP, that's the line you want to take. I don't think they can beat a deck that double colonies next turn, anyways, in terms of score with the current state. So gaining the 2 provinces, buying a colony, and challenging Ngober to be able to produce 3 colonies in their deck. Although as Ngober here, you have to think, can I actually draw back around my 19-card deck to use the platinum that I would get if I were to turn this peddler into a platinum right now? And I don't know. They've got 15 cards of governor draw. They've got 4 or 5 cards of peddler draw. They have most of the peddlers, I think. If I'm looking in the trash, there's 2. So there's There's 2 here, 3. So they've got 4 or 5 peddlers down there. They've also got a couple villages down there. I think it's actually quite possible that they can draw back around to get to that platinum to support either double colonying or governor remodeling that peddler into a colony. So the plan here with Ngober is just to draw deck and buy double colony. So I think you just start playing the draw cards. You can't really do any remodel tricks with peddlers. So you might as well play the peddler, draw with the governor, and just start drawing, and then hopefully hit a blessed village, and then you can stop to think once you've got a embassy and a governor in hand what the order should be there. I think CP did play a risky line there because Ngober can pile out here on colonies. However, I think they had to play that line. I think that line gave them the best chance of winning. Unfortunately, they were not able to draw back around. Their next turn should be pretty strong in terms of governors and draw cards. And even they trashed the 2 silvers to try to luck into something with Blessed Village. So there's 2 things they can do. They can just buy a province, take a 6-point lead, and trust that CP can't pile out next turn. Or they can take a colony and basically say, I don't think you can build up to colony. I think just taking the province is the safe play. Feels a little bit unfortunate. They didn't find as you see this next hand, they have 2 governors, they had an embassy, and they had a plus actions. They could have played it. All CP needs to do is be able to get 1 blessed village, 1 peddler, and 1 colony. So they can governor remodel a pawn potentially into blessed village. No, they can't because they have to play the pawn for buy. So they do have 2 pawns. So unfortunately, well, is there a win here with borrow and alms and stuff? I don't think there is. It's quite unfortunate they had to play that pawn for plus card action. They're going to now have to try to find 3 They're going to have to try to find 3 provinces or 2 colonies. If they were able to play that pawn for buy, then they could buy a 0-cost peddler, a 4-cost blessed village, and an 11-cost colony, which seems much easier to do than 2 colonies or 3 provinces. I think there isn't much thought to be done here. Governor's the best card to play, so you just got to play governor for cards and see what you draw. Hopefully you draw a blessed village, and then you can play the embassy. Also important, I mentioned the shuffle ordering. You do have 2 governors down there. You've got a couple blessed villages, another peddler, I think. And, how many treasures do you have in the deck? We know how many we played last turn. We played gold, 2 coppers, 2 silvers. We had 2 money from peddlers. So that was 9, 11. So we have enough to buy a colony there, but not to get the 2nd colony. There are also a couple of treasures in the discard pile there, I think, in that line. So that's something to consider. We can also look at remodeling the gold in the province, potentially gaining another gold. Yeah, so I think here you want to, well, if we're going to remodel twice, yeah, I'm not actually seeing a line. So Ngober had a really bad draw, but I'm not actually seeing a line here where CP double provinces. I don't think they have enough draw to make that happen. Taking coin buy. So can they governor remodel a copper into a estate? Yes, they can. So if they governor remodel a copper into an estate, they can buy a peddler in Blessed Village and win the game by 1. It took me a minute to see that. We'll see if they see that as well. The only question is if Ngober has a Blessed Village in hand. That works too. The silver to duchy works too. It's probably in fact better. Better for making sure if Ngober also has a 4-cost in hand, they could remodel that into a duchy. And don't want to give them a sneak win. Yeah, so now this is win in hand. They can click end actions, buy peddler, Blessed Village. It doesn't matter the order, and they squeak out a win. Nicely spotted there by CP. I think they spotted it before I did, where that extra game came from. A little bit unfortunate draw for Ngober on that last shuffle. I think they were in a little bit better position, but the shuffle didn't work out in their favor. So that game goes to CP. And they are in the driver's seat going into Game 6.